Logan Lee was just hanging out with me inside the Charles Schwab studio, right? He texted me, and it's not quite fast food. It's every food. For those of you that know the Loco Moco in Hawaii, fine dining, low dining, the Loco Mocos everywhere, that is the ultimate fast food plate. And there's no four things on the plate. You don't need anything else. Logan with the text message of the day, maybe of the month and the year. When I went to Hawaii, I got hooked on Loco Moco. If you think crack addicts have a problem, no, have a Loco Moco problem. It was absolutely amazing. And I have promised this, Zone newsletter, put it out on Twitter all morning long, excited. But it is the return of a legend. No other way to put it. Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter. And Joe Sheehan was with the Baseball Prospectus gang, the greatest think tank in the history of baseball. He's been with Baseball America, Sports Illustrated. What I'm trying to say is he can't keep a job. So what he decided to do is Joe was like, hey, I'm just going to start my own newsletter because I love baseball. I watch 3 games a day, and I'm going to write about it and talk about it all year, all day long. And we have been lucky enough to hang out with Joe for 23, something like that, years. He returns now, joins us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Brother, how is your world? How's your life been? What the hell have you been up to?
Nothing much, man. Writing about baseball mostly. Being the father of a teenager who's up in boarding school, it's been pretty quiet. A pretty boring life right now. I was thinking last night, Louie, last night was like the first full night of games. We had 15 games on the schedule. 14 of them started at 6:30 or later. I was on Slack with a bunch of my readers, and just how much I missed that. I know people. Opening day is a big day, and of course the opening night this year, and we're gonna do this 100 for the next 26 weeks. The All-Star Game, Home Run Derby, playoffs, whatever have you. But for me, baseball is a night like last night, when no one game matters more than the others. You're just watching a whole bunch of baseball, and you're getting surprised by a pitcher here or a hitter here. You're seeing a great play there or a comeback here. I love the game on nights like that, where it's not, oh my God, this is happening. It's just, show me what's going to happen.
Joe, it's moments like that, just you saying that, that's why you do what you do. You just love the game. You find beauty in all of it. You're not living because you need a Yankee dynasty or you need an Ohtani. You just love the game itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somebody who's going to be watching what do you give me? So you give me a night with 4 games and one of them is Marlins Rockies. Well, we just did that. I'm going to be watching Marlins Rockies. You get older and you kind of do need to take a few more days off and get outside to see that big orb in the sky. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I read the front of the newspaper too, but when you miss it so much from November to March, a night like last night really reminds you of what brings you to the game. So it was a fun night. You had the Guardians upsetting the Dodgers. You had some really great close games on the West Coast with the Padres and Giants, the Yankees and Mariners. Just a fun night of ball.
So, Joe, after the opening weekend, some of our top storylines in all of MLB, I think ABS, the automated ball strike system, might be the top storyline. It has provided in-game entertainment, on-TV entertainment. I have found it thoroughly enjoyable. I don't know about the impact on the game. I think it would be too early to make such a statement, but I think it's been tons of fun.
One of the arguments that MLB made for this system versus a full automated system was that argument, more or less, that it would be fun because, they've done this in the minor leagues for a number of years now, and it does seem to be, the fans do seem to like the moment of let's put it up on the board and see whether it was a ball or strike or not. And, whether that gets old after a while, I don't know. But one of the big arguments for this system was the fact that it would be enjoyable. It's created a whole other category of conversation about, was that a good challenge? Or why didn't he challenge there? Or, oh, look, this guy's 5 for 5 when he tries to challenge. So I think it's going to drive the conversation. I will say it reminds me a little bit of torpedo bat, which is 1 year ago. That's the only thing we were talking about. I'm more concerned with the second order and third order effects, Louie. I want to see if it balances the relationship between pitchers and hitters. If pitchers can't just decide, I'm going to throw the ball 2 to 3 inches outside and count on my catcher to fool the umpire. I think when you take those pitches out of the game, it creates a better balance between the hitters and pitchers. It's going to take a little time for all that to settle down. But right now, I think, I'm not hearing a whole lot of people who don't like the challenge system who are saying it should be the old way. I'm hearing more people who are like, well, why don't we just use this to call every pitch? So I do think this is – I don't think we're ever going to go back to human umpires.
No, if anything, they'll try and go further and further towards every pitch being called. Some of the highlights so far, and C.B. Buckner doing Buckner things. He had 8 challenges, 6 he was overturned, and someone that said, I think you may have saw this, but what, he missed 20 calls total in the game on top of that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, that's going to be the argument. When we get to a point of having these conversations, it's going to be, there are going to be games where, let's say a team challenges, the guy has a bad night behind the plate, the team challenges 13 times, and they get 11 of them right. But because they got 2 of them wrong, they're out of challenge. And then they get screwed the 9th inning by a bad call. I think that's going to be the situation where you'll see teams, where you'll see the conversation move towards full ABS, because there are going to be games, we know it's going to happen, where teams are just going to get a couple of challenges wrong. So just to back up a second, the way the system works is that a team gets 2 wrong challenges a game. If you challenge and you're right, you keep your challenge. So if you challenge 15 pitches and they're all right, you're still fine. But once you miss 2 challenges as a team, so whether it's as a hitter, the catcher, the pitcher, you don't get to challenge at all for the rest of the game. So there is some cost involved in using a challenge. And I wrote in the offseason, guys at Oyster Analytics did a really good piece on this, talking about when do you want to challenge. Because you don't want to challenge an 0-2 pitch with 2 outs and nobody on.
Right.
You would rather not have your number 9 hitter challenge so that and possibly take that potential challenge away from Aaron Judge. So there are issues here. Now, there was a story in spring training. I know we're doing a lot of catch-up here, Louie, so I apologize.
All good, all good.
The Brewers actually started signaling permission to challenge from the dugout, which is one of the things I thought we'd definitely see because, again, you don't want certain hitters or certain situations wasting a challenge on. So they literally would hold up a green or a red card to show the hitter whether he was allowed to challenge or not. And the league shut that down quickly because the league wants to pretend it's just the players and it's just about the call. But it's never going to be about the call. Once you have a limit to the number of challenges you can make, you're creating all of these leverage situations. Same as replay. You don't want to burn a replay challenge in the bottom of the third with nobody on and 2 outs because the importance of getting that one right is fairly small. So a lot of the challenge strategy, a lot of the challenge system is challenge strategy as opposed to just getting the calls right. I personally don't like this. A lot of people do.
Last night, the Yankees game, the Yankees went 5 for 5 on their challenges, and that's not the part that fascinated me. The home plate umpire was Mike Estabrook, and he actually got upset and told the Yankees to adjust. That mindset is wrong. They're not supposed to adjust. He's the one that's supposed to adjust.
This is one of the best things about an automated system is that we get rid of this junk about umpires having their own zone. Or he's got a wide zone tonight. He's got a narrow. No. It's not your zone, sir. It's in the rule book. You're there to administer the rules of the game. You're not there to be the game. And, we developed this over 100 years of baseball history where umpires kind of became a part of the game. And I never was a big fan of that. I mean, I got the Ron Luciano books on my bookshelf, too. But the fact is, they're there to administer the rules of the game. And the idea that, by the way, like, the umpires are being embarrassed. You've seen The Naked Gun, right?
Of course.
So umpires embarrassing players became such a part of the culture that it was spoofed in one of the most popular comedies of all time. Leslie Nielsen back there doing the whole riff. And like, you would tell me that the problem is umpires are getting embarrassed? Umpires invented embarrassing players with their big strike 3 calls. So spare me the concern about the umpires. But not for nothing, if you don't, look, that's what the money is for. Get the calls right. If you're doing your job poorly and we have a way to fix that, we're going to use that. And if you're embarrassed by it, get better or go home.
Well, here's the thing about being embarrassed. I think it's more embarrassing when you tell the team to adjust because replay showing that you're wrong. That's right. More embarrassing than anything the team is doing or the players are doing is when you say that.
If MLB had any reasonable control over its umpires, that would be a suspension.
Thank you.
If you're telling the team, you have to play by my rules, not the rules of the game, that's a suspension.
Okay. I was stunned when he said that, but it shows how bad the umpires really are. That even with this reality, they're telling teams, quit challenging, adjust to me. What? It shows how far away they are from reality.
Well, that's how it's been for the last a zillion years. It's like, no, I'm going to call the strike zone my way. And this is great. No, you're not. You're going to call the strike zone the way the rule book says you are. And if you don't, we now have a way to fix that. That's, I think, hitters. And I look at this, Louie, largely through the lens of hitters. Because, again, I watch a lot of baseball. And by and large, I think the umpires called strike zones have favored the pitchers. When we watch a lot of baseball, yes, they're going to miss. They'll call balls that are in the zone pitches that are in the zone balls. That will happen. But more often, it's that pitch 3 inches off the plate that the umpire calls the hitter out on, where the hitter has no chance to hit it at all. And this is going to take that out of the game. Pitchers are not going to be able to go 2-3 inches outside the zone and get that called strike anymore. Hitters are not going to have to defend against that pitch anymore because they can just tap their head and say, no, that wasn't a strike, and we move on. So I think it's bringing this balance back into the game. And like I say, if the umpires don't like it, I really just don't care. I truly don't care what the umpires think of this system. Do better.
One last, and we'll move on. Well, two more for ABS, but I read this. I'm not going to take credit for this, but halftime entertainment at the All-Star game is bring back Angel Hernandez and let him call ball strikes in the ABS.
Yeah, Ken Rosenthal posted that, and I guess, I've made my share of Angel Hernandez jokes, but he's retired now, and I don't really know that there's any value in dunking on him. He quit. He's doing his job now. So I don't know if making an Angel Hernandez joke was necessarily, I don't know, it didn't really sit well.
It didn't hit for you?
It didn't hit for me.
Didn't it? And the last thing with the ABS, and you kind of said at the start, it's here to stay, and it's only going to expand. So the umpires need to get on with it because now Major League Baseball does have an alternative to them, whether they realize it or not.
Well, I would divide that statement. ABS is here to stay. I don't know that it's going to expand only because there's so large a contingent of people who want this system as opposed to full ABS. You got to remember, the union is 60% pitchers and catchers at this point. And a lot of those catchers only have their jobs because they can not move their glove from here to here and fool the umpire. So there is an enormous player preference for this system versus an all ABS system. And as I say, the league seems to, they've done fan surveys, and fans in the minors seem to prefer the system as well. It's a little bit like the extra innings rules, where I think they're terrible, but there is simply no large enough constituency fighting against it. The front offices, the players, a lot of fans, the commissioner's office, they all like it. So there's nobody who's going to be able to get them to change. I think this is going to be similar, where even if there are people like me who just want full ABS, there's so many people prefer the current system that we're probably just going to be sticking with it.
Fair enough. I think another narrative storyline from the opening weekend was the rookies. You had some incredible, DeLauder, McConaughey, Waterholt, Stewart, Ben. There were some incredible rookie debuts over the weekend.
Just an incredible story. I actually did my piece yesterday on some of the rookies who had big games on Sunday, and I didn't even get DeLauder and Weatherholt and McGonigal into the piece because they've done a lot of their work on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. But just an incredible performance by young players up and down the league, guys in their major league debuts having big hits. Kazuma Okamoto up in Toronto has 2 home runs already, the kid from NPB. You had, oh, God, I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now, but to me, that was the great story. And you go back a couple of years to the last CBA, we don't talk about service time management anymore because of the rules they put in place in the last CBA that actually have created incentives for teams to put their rookies on the opening day roster. I think 10 years ago, you might have seen McGonigal and Weatherholt and DeLauder start the year in the minor league because teams would want to, you lead them down for 3 weeks, now you get an extra year's service. Now teams have draft pick incentives to go ahead and play them. We also have a situation where if a player wins the Rookie of the Year, like Paul Skeens did 2 years ago, he actually gets that full year of service no matter when you brought him up. So all of the rules have been put in place now, so we can have a weekend like this where all of these rookies really show out.
So you don't want to get overly excited. I'm going to let you kind of like boil it all down. Of this rookie class, which ones are no, they're not rookies. These guys are here to stay and they're real. And which ones are we going to need more data on?
I mentioned Kevin McGonigal. He's the Tigers shortstop prospect. He's playing a little third base for them because of Gahabi Baez. left-handed hitter, just really, really good plate discipline. He had an at-bat on, I'm going to say, Friday night against the Padres.
The 10-pitch at-bat.
Left-handed reliever, a guy who's only in the league to get lefties out, worked out a 10-pitch at-bat, hit the game-breaking single, two-run single at the end of it. Just incredible approach. He's got power to all fields. I think eventually he does end up at third base. He can play shortstop now, but the Tigers have a roster crunch. I think at the American League crop, he's going to be up there. Over in the NL, Chase Burns, who didn't pitch until last night, he threw 5 shutout innings against the Pirates last night. Last year, he had this massive gap between his ERA and his underlying performance. He just got really unlucky on balls in play. But even last year, he was dominant. With Hunter Green out, he's actually the Reds' #1 for the next 4 months. He's just an incredible power pitcher. I think there were a lot of hitters who had big weekends, but to me, Chase Burns is going to be the Rookie of the Year in the NL, and quite possibly he's a Cy Young candidate. That's how good he is out of the box.
I guess the last, and it's not a storyline, but the San Francisco Giants start off as bad as they've ever done in the history of the franchise. They got shut out in the first 2 games of the year. They've never done that before. And they batted, 143 in their opening weekend. Not exactly. And, it was already people were going to watch extra close, first time ever, straight from college as a manager. And I don't think it's an indictment of Tony V, but still a very inauspicious start for the Giants.
Well, yeah, given the pressure they put on themselves with this hire and with some of the other moves they've made, you'd like to get off to a better start. The Yankees are going to sweep some teams. It's going to happen. They went in last night. They went down to San Diego, swept by the Padres 3-2, so they're on the board at least. It's a 500 team. We're going to talk about the manager all year, but it's a 500 team. It's got 500 talent. They actually might have lost their closer last night, Ryan Walker. Not that Ryan Walker has any great shakes, but they don't really have the bullpen depth to lose anybody. So it's a 500 team. And here's the thing. They've struggled so much to bring their top talent into the majors. They just traded away Luis Matos, who was one of their top outfield prospects a couple of years ago. Bryce Eldridge, who was their #1 prospect, actually didn't even make the roster out of spring training. He was back down in AAA. They just had so much trouble developing talent. Look, Tony Vitello just got there. I can't put this on him. And they're very expensive. They signed Chapman, they signed Willie Adames, they took on the Rafael Devers contract, and all these guys are now 29 and up. So if they don't win now, all those guys are just a year older next year, and there's not really stuff immediately in that farm system. I think you look 2-3 years down the road, Louie, they've got some prospects coming through. Their lower minors are very strong, but they're a 500 team now. They don't have a lot of internal replacements, and they're really expensive.
I could tell you've never watched SEC baseball, or you would blame Tony Vitello for global warming. Okay, yeah, you say you can't blame him. Yeah, you didn't watch SEC baseball.
Look, you know I'm not a college baseball guy. I say that for the start.
I know.
Writing about Vitello, you got to look at his track record, and his track record in what I understand to be the best baseball conference in the country is pretty impressive. College and pros, they are very much two different animals. It's not like. Well, I shouldn't even say that. College football coaches have struggled to adapt to the NFL, so I think that actually might be the con. But there's just no examples of it in baseball. We just don't do this in our game. I think it's a negative. I think baseball could do better to look outside its pool. Like, baseball doesn't have a Bill Belichick. Baseball doesn't have a Greg Popovich, an Eric Spoelstra. Like, we don't have these guys who didn't play and came in and became great coaches, great managers. And Vitello is at least looking outside and seeing, can we do it differently? I'm not sure whether it's going to work or not. I will say this, though. Whether the Giants win 75 or 85 games this year, it's more about the roster and what Buster Posey has done than anything Tony Vitello does.
Joe, quick timeout, coming back. And, dude, got to talk some Astros. And reluctantly, we got to talk some Rangers.
Sounds good, brother.
Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter every Tuesday. Starting today, but every Tuesday during the MLB season, we're going to hang out. We're going to talk some ball. It's the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, Tuesday on The Zone.
You can hear the madness of March on Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louie Belina Show. I sit inside the Charles Schwab studio, and today is truly a glorious, fantastical day. It marks the return of Joe Sheehan newsletter. Joe, what in the wide world of sports is that Joe Sheehan newsletter I keep mentioning?
We'll get to that in a second, but you got to help me out here. You know, more of an R&B and hip-hop guy. What was the riff coming in?
Red Hot Chili Peppers. It is the start of Can't Stop. I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I knew I'd heard it. Well, honestly, they work some R&B and I don't know if hip hop, but they got a blend in there. They're not just pure rock.
No, they do funk. They do California funk, man. Absolutely.
Yes, he's one of the great bass players of all time, right? Do I have that right?
There you go. Hey, you're talking about you don't, but you know somehow. Yes, he is.
Well, we don't cover a whole lot of music in the newsletter, but Joe Sheehan Baseball newsletter is, I think, the Prince and Billy Joel, the only references I've made. But anyway, I talked about the newsletter. When I left Prospectus in 2010, I started the newsletter. It was kind of an out-of-the-blue thing at the time, but what I found was that I had more to write than I could get into my various freelance out. I was doing a lot of Sports Illustrated work at the time, but that was once a week. And there were 5 days a week I woke up with something to want to write. So I started the newsletter then, and it'll turn 16. I have one teenager turning. I have one kid turning 16 tomorrow, and I have another kid turning 16 in May. The newsletter being the second one. I get to write about baseball for an audience of thousands. I have complete control. I write about pretty much anything I want any given day. Definitely a stat head mindset. You know me, man. I come out of Baseball Prospectus. I run the numbers. It was different back then, 30 years ago. Now everybody, of course, knows that stuff. But I think people enjoy the writing, and I think that's really the key thing that people get out of it. They love reading my stuff about baseball. So if you want more information, if you want to read some of the stuff I do, go to joesheehan.com. There's excerpts for everything that I do. There are full pieces about once a week. There's actually a link you can go to see 20 or 30 pieces from the past that I've written, get subscription information as well. And like I say, if you enjoy the game, if you enjoy these conversations with Louie, I think you'll enjoy the newsletter. You can also email me. There's a link right there on the page. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me. So joesheehan.com gets you all the information.
Joe, J-O-E, Sheehan, one of the hardest last names I've ever misspelled. S-H-E-E-H-A-N. JoeSheehan.com. And you can get more info on the newsletter, excerpts from the newsletter, entire old newsletters. Check it all out. Again, his email link is there, JoeSheehan.com. And Joe, I've seen Billy Joel in concert 3 times, and Prince is one of my 5 favorite artists of all time. Just to kind of wrap that up there, you mentioned them too. Oh, I'm very familiar with those 2 guys too. Astros, Rangers. Hey, Joe, what 2 teams have the longest win streak in MLB right now?
I'm going to guess the Rangers and Astros.
Oh, man, I don't know how you guessed that. But if you take a look, 3 teams have won 3 straight, and that's the longest win streak currently. It's the Astros, the Ranger, and the Cincinnati Reds. All have won 3 straight, exactly as we all thought it would be.
Well, I tried to watch the Astros game last night. They were hosting the Red Sox, and unfortunately I couldn't. What they were showing was a clip of a 2021 Lance McCullers Jr. start. He was fantastic. 7 innings, 1 run allowed. I hadn't seen him. I mean, this so long since he pitched that well. It was great to see it, but that could not have been last night's game.
9 Ks. 9 Ks in that 7 1/3 dominant. It was something. The last time I saw him that brilliant was when he was relieving in the World Series, and he threw 52 straight curveballs, okay? That was the last time we saw this version of Lance McCullers. And yesterday I was talking about him, and he had an awful, awful season last year, and fans got vicious on him. And I'm like, why would I get mad at a guy who took the ball because he was asked to, who had basically missed the prior 2 years? I was hoping he had one last good year left in him, and 1 start does not indicate anything. But it was so, as a true Astros fan as I am, and a Lance McCullers fan, it was awesome to see him have that kind of game. It's
hard to believe after what we've seen these last few years. But it wasn't, it was against a good Red Sox offense. It wasn't like a fluke in that sense. And, we can't even say nowadays where it's like, oh, well, the umpire was giving him a lot, because the umpires can't do that anymore. You got to take it at face value. It was a very good start. You look at you got 17 swings and misses on at least 90 pitches, like 45 swings. That's a really good rate. The curve was fantastic. He was spamming it a bit. But I guess he had some good balance. It was like 3 pitches about 25% of the time, worked through the whole repertoire. It was, like I said, it was classic Lance McCullers. I really hope he can pull it together, because he's somebody who's gone through a lot, and who at his best wasn't just good, Louie. He's incredibly watchable because of that big deuce. Personally, I don't know what you're thinking. Some people tie fastball, some people are sliders. For me, the big curve, and I go back to Greg Olson, I go back to Mike Messina, that big curve is my favorite pitch.
You talk about a good start. Yordan Alvarez had an awful spring, but he's always been known to. Well, through 4 games, he's got 2 bombs, like 6 walks, and he's just looking like Yordan. That is until he hurts himself brushing his teeth. But still, he's off to a phenomenal start.
Yeah, he stays upright, he's one of the 2 or 3 best left-handed hitters in the game. He's always had that kind of upside. And you can make a case that his injuries last year cost the Astros a playoff spot. Probably cost him 3-4 wins in not being able to play last year. And, of course, getting hurt, was it 2 weeks to go in the season, rolling his ankle, a week to go in the season. That really crippled the Astros offense down the stretch. This is the guy he can be. And again, you talk about guys I love to watch, man. Just a monster at the plate, power to all fields, great plate discipline, the complete package at the plate. And I just as soon see him never play the field again. I think he's been long past the point where you just treat him like Harold Baines.
Yeah.
You make him the DH, and you just go to the Hall of Fame. Go hit 500 home runs. But as long as he's going to play once a week, twice a week in left field, I think you've added some risk that you don't need to add.
I don't think the Astros are going to do that, though. I'm telling you right now.
I know he did in Game 2.
What's that?
I know in Game 2 he played and then left.
Well, okay. I'll be honest, I missed it, but I thought spring training that they kind of made it clear, man, if they could, they'd let someone run for him, a designated runner. So I did not expect to see him in the field once a week or once a month. I thought they were just going to finally lean into it and just, he is the DH. It's not worth it. There's no value to having 1 game a week, 1 game a month in the field for him.
I'm completely on board with you on that. It looks like he's actually started out there twice now.
Jeez.
It's every other game he started out there. So we'll see what happens tonight. But I mean, some of this is, some injuries kind of creating a lot of jams. Some of it is they just don't have a good outfit. They don't have good outfits.
But it doesn't matter the risk to him.
I'm with you. I'm saying why I think it's actually happening in practicality. They've got 6 infielders and no outfits.
Should I make anything about how bad the Astros' first time through the pitching rotation was? I mean, I tell me if I'm over it, because Hunter Brown had a Cy Young start. Lance McCullers had a Cy Young start. The other 3 were awful.
Well, think about McCullers and Javier is canceling out, right? If they flip those starts, are you that surprised?
No, not at all.
So on balance, I mean, Mike Burrows, he's in number 4. I think it's number 3, number 4. He's going to have nights like that. I think the one guy I want to focus on here is Tetsuya Imai. Major League debut, 41% strike rate. So 41% of the pitches he threw went for strikes. He had no command of the fastball. That's not going to work. The velocity was good. The IVD was pretty good, but the command, he just was all over the place. Ended up walking 4 guys and getting, I believe, 8 outs. That's the one guy you want to watch going forward. Like, okay, is this going to work over here? That's because we just don't have enough of a track record. I mean, since the Astros signed him, thinking, you're going to be our Shota Imanaga that the Cubs signed a couple of years ago, and there's no guarantee he's going to be that guy. That's the one where there's not enough of a track record to say, is he going to be better than this? So he starts, I want to say it's the A's in Sacramento, and then the Mariners in T-Mobile. So a couple of tough assignments going forward.
Let us go briefly, Texas Rangers. And their start is exactly who they are, because their starting pitching has been fantastic, better than you would expect. Bullpen, but they invested in the offseason. Sure, some of their hitters, are like Wyatt Langford, but this is exactly who the Texas Rangers are.
Jack Leiter with a quality start last night, lengthening out. We expect that the DeGrom, Eovaldi, Gore part of the rotation is going to be good. If Jack Leiter pitches like he did last year, it's actually better than number 4. It's going to be, it's unusual, right? We don't really think about the Rangers as being a pitching, let's win with our pitching and defense.
Ever.
That's very much the team that they are right now. They are very much a team that's going to try to hold you down and try to win. Let's say they won, was it 5-2 last night? I think the bullpen is going to be interesting. It's not deep. I like Garcia at the back. I like Chris Martin for the 30 innings the year that he's healthy, but there's not a lot of depth back there. So that's my concern, is that are they going to lose some games late? Skip Schumacher, in his 1 year in Miami, didn't have a lot to work with, so I'm not sure. I don't think we have a great read on how good he is at running a bullpen at this point. You mentioned Langford. He's on the top of that breakout list. He could argue he broke out last year. He had a 5-win season, 134 games. You'd like to see him stay a little bit more healthy, but I do think the offense is decent, but it's a little bit like the pitching staff, where the top 6 guys, fine, and then it falls off a lot. They've got to get something out of the Peterson, McCutchen DH platoon. They've got to get something out of Jake Berger this year. Brandon Nimmo's got to come over and look a little bit better than he did with the Mets last year. So definitely issues with depth.
Only 4 games, but Andrew McCutchen so far has had value. I mean, he actually has been great through the first 4 games.
Yeah, you need somebody like that when you've got Peterson who just can't play against lefties. So McCutchen was basically a slightly below average hitter the last couple of years in Pittsburgh, and of course, I'm not a soft factors guy, but you could do worse than just introducing Andrew McCutchen into your environment. Veteran, bright guy, leader. I think that helps them a little bit.
Joe, be awesome, dude. Hearing your voice again brings the most awesome smile to my face. I know I get to look forward to the next 7 months of talking nothing but ball with you. Dude, welcome back, man. It is awesome to have you.
Good to be back, brother. Take care.
Be good. Joe Sheehan of the Joe Sheehan newsletter. We're going to talk MLB, Astros, Rangers, and so much more. It's going to be a Tuesday thing here on the Louie Belina Show, and Joe Sheehan joins us on the D4 Land Services Hotline. Most guests of the Louie Belina Show join me on the D4 Land Services Hotline. If you need your land cleared, your land excavated, you need your land fixed up, check out d4landservices.com. d4landservices.com. This is the Louie Belina Show. Tuesday on the Zone.
Your home for the Houston Astros is Sports Radio 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. The Zone.
It is the Louie Belina Show. I'm sticking with Tuesday. We've reached halftime. Hanging out till 2 o'clock. Still to come. Oh, we got the rest of the world of sports. NFL this morning woke up and decided to hand out about 50 press releases. We know the future Super Bowl sites. We know who's going to be on Hard Knocks and more. Still to come, Community Spotlight 150, the Mama Nutmeg Foundation. Get to visit with an old and great friend of mine, April Plemons, who is the head of the Mama Nutmeg Foundation. Still to come, I want to do a text message sweep. I really do. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox is open. Texas Mobile and Lube Express, owned by Gabriel Garcia. Just what's on your mind? Aggie baseball? Missouri sweep? You back in, or are you still on the outside looking in? Or you're like me, Vanderbilt. I told you I wanted the first month, not the first 2 weeks, not the first 3 weeks. I want the first month to gather data points. Bucky ball. Are you like Logan and I? We're just jumping out of our skin and wishing it was already year 2, first game. 979-693-1150. Text, questions, comments, opinions, and more. Wanted to jump in some things that have caught my attention recently. College football, the whole world out there. Steve Sarkisian recently was speaking. I think it was the On 3. But this was kind of weird to me. He wanted to challenge the narrative that there's only 5 or 6 schools spending big in college football. Here's the quote. You've got to pay a lot of money just to get in the game. So the teams that have a chance to win it, and I don't know what the number ends up being, call it 25, but everybody's in that game. If you say you're not, then you're not being truthful. And I get confused because I tried to find the entire Sark narrative, but the story from On 3 made it sound like he was saying there's only 5 or 6 schools that are spending big, that's a narrative. That's the word used, was narrative. To be fair and to be honest, I kind of don't know anybody that says there's only 5 or 6 schools that are spending big. And I don't exactly see Sark saying that. He obviously is being a little maybe prickly, or what he's trying to say is, we Texas are always getting called out for our payroll, which probably is the largest entering the season of any college football team. But I always say wear that with pride. If I had the highest payroll in college football, I would plaster it all over social media so recruits would know that we pay the most. I would want recruits to know we have the highest payroll and we pay the most. I would want recruits to look at us and go, oh, I need to take that phone call. They pay. I would never shy from that fact. You've seen other schools try and downplay their payroll. Let me ask, what's embarrassing about having the number 1 payroll, college football, college basketball, college baseball, college anything? Is that a shameful fact? Because to me, it's dang right we do. And you want every agent to know that? So that they call you, you don't even have to call them. Seriously, too. Oh, no, they're going to try and extort you for more money because you pay well. Well, if you have they have the number 1 quarterback, linebacker, DN cornerback is who that agent represents. Yeah, I want them to try and extort me. I want them to call me and offer me their kid. So but it's demeaning to think we only won because it's an economic structure and universe in athletics now. that you have to pay to get your players. It's not wrong. It's how the system works. Announce to the world, we pay our players the best. You want to come play for us because we pay for you. Okay, sorry, I'm derailing myself. What else is new? And again, looking at it, but he says, you have to pay to get in the game, call it 25, but everybody's in that game. I don't know if it's a full 25, but one of the reasons why we now have no elite end, but about like 15? I don't know if it's 25, but if you told me 15, I would not. I wouldn't argue if you said 15 teams are all in. If not 17, 18, is it 25? I'm not going to fight you over 15 to 25. He's right in that sense. I haven't heard anyone say there's only 5 or 6 schools. It's a lot more than that. When Indiana goes all in, Texas Tech goes all in, it's more than 5 or 6. I'm of the mindset currently that we're heading towards like an implosion point. And it's happened, I think, twice before in Division I, where you have too many teams, and you hear schools talking about we can't compete, we don't have that kind of money. Not really a big deal. What ends up happening is D1 breaks, and you go from 400 D1 teams to 60. And then it's competitive, and and you can create rules again. Rules that fit, rules that make sense. It's happened before, by the way, if you think Lou's just on a fantasy trip right here. Everybody, you have all these, like Sac State just went D1, right? It was Sac State, and because they saw what you had 2 P5, and it's now P6, but P5 teams make the playoffs. So you have teams jumping out of 1AA into a life of hell just because they might have a shot at that money. Too many teams in D1. Every sport. It's not just a football thing. Too many teams in D1, baseball and basketball. And that's why these rules don't work and the systems don't work. And it's okay. It will implode and we'll shrink back to real numbers. If Sankey and the SEC ever get tired of the governance, tired of the Big Ten, not joking when I say this, the SEC can annex the Big 12 and start its own NFL-style league. ESPN will buy it all. That will last for a couple of years before a new D1 would start where the Big Ten would join. And the Big Ten would annex the ACC and we'd have like at max 70 team D1 with the P4 with some teams kicked out. And that would be it. And a new governing body. The NCAA, AA, something like that. That's how the future would go on this. But sorry, I digressed again. Sark it's not 5 or 6. The number of teams all in, I'll throw it out there. I never mind asking, but how many teams do you think, if you were guesstimating, are all in college football? College football. How many teams are all in right now? Allegedly, and I've seen this, matter of fact, The Athletic again, headline, why the cost of college football roster building won't slow down anytime soon. That's the headline. And whatever. Here's the highlights. Here's the parts, the data points for me. A, they go back all of 2 years ago. Raise your hand if you remember this. Ohio State athletic director Ross Bjork, at the Big Ten media days, he said, hey, he revealed, didn't blink, just said, we have a $20 million payroll for our roster, football roster. And people were doing OMG. It was a startling revelation. This year, it's 40 mil. 2 years later, it's doubled. But 2 years ago, Ross Bjork, the Ohio State ID, said 20 mil, and people were fainting in the streets. Other points of data for me. That 40 mil is not for me. They talked to an anonymous SEC head coach, a Big Ten personnel staffer who said 35 to 40, and a Pac-12 like assistant who said it's 40. So this year, the top payroll is 40, 2 years later. Does that tell you how fast it's accelerating? The element point I talk, again, data points I took from this. Why are teams doing this? To win, Lou, you're an idiot. No. And this is the part that was fascinating to me. Because losing is more expensive. Losing is more expensive. When you lose, fans become apathetic. Attendance sags, donors stop. You don't get the money. So the effect of losing is more costly than the investment in winning, which is why you have to go all in. That's kind of the why. And final data point from this. Things to think about you can take over. And it's the accelerating cost of everything. The cost of players. High-end quarterbacks, more than $4 million per season. And even offensive linemen. Top offensive tackles were 1.3. This year, it was close to $3 million. That's how fast everything is accelerating price-wise. Remember LSU got Colorado's Jordan Seaton, 5-star top offensive tackle, bona fide? Well, before, top OTs, 1.3, 1.5. He's somewhere in the 2.5 range. Pretty close to double already. Already. That's how fast. In 2 years, everything's doubled. From the Ohio State 20 mil, we're at 40 mil to the cost of a quarterback, but O tackles too. Everything has doubled. And again, the revelation by all the coaches they talk to, why? Because it's more costly to lose. Return on investment. We'll be back. I got to wrap up our lunch hour. Lunchtime on the Louie Belina Show. Thanks to Rudy's Barbecue. Go get the green chili stew. Ribs. Moist brisket, jalapeno sausage. Hey, try the chopped sandwich too. It's the Louie Belina Show. Tuesday on the Zone.
We are going. Are you ready? The Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Where defeat isn't bitter if you don't swallow it.
It's time. Oh, here we go!